Hey Hawks fans, I'm Brea Lassek and I'm here with the breakdown of all things baseball operations and analytics. We're going to take you through all of the complicated numbers and terms that our baseball operations department are using to help players and coaches on the field. We're going to make it a little bit more accessible to you at home. You don't have to be a player, coach, GM, or anything like that to understand baseball at a more advanced level. So I'm going to take you all through it, starting today with spin rate. So let's just go right into it. Spin rate is exactly how it sounds. It's the rate of spins after the ball has been released from a pitcher's hand. And so what does that exactly mean? You have two pitches that are going in at the same velocity but have different spin rates. Those two pitches are going to end up in completely different locations because of the amount of spin generated. Here now with Johnny Davis from the Baseball Ops Department, we're going to talk a little bit more about spin rate, but breaking it down. So first of all, why is a high spin rate important for a pitcher?
Spin is generally a proxy for how much movement you can get on the baseball. So it's not going to tell you a lot about how the pitch actually moves, but in general, a higher spin rate is going to mean that there's more potential for pitch movement if that pitch is spun with the correct efficiency.
So beginners to baseball might think, okay, high spin rate, that means that the pitch is overall better, but that might not necessarily be true. How are guys with lower spin rates still successful?
There's a lot of reasons why you would want to cut spin from a movement perspective. So generally, like on our change-up pitch and a lot of your off-speed pitches, those are pitches that we want lower spin rate. And depending on what you're trying to get out of the pitch, we're going to look for different measures and different metrics.
So what are some pitches that have higher spin rates typically, and then the others that are lower spin rates?
Yeah, so I'd say a curveball, like a true 12 to 6 is going to have a higher spin rate. A well backspun four-seam fastball, a sinker with 100% efficiency. Any pitches that get towards that 100% efficiency measure are going to have a higher spin rate, especially on your main pitch, your fastball, and then breaking pitches too. Your off-speed, your curveballs, your change-ups, your splitters, those are all going to all have lower spin.
So for a fastball for a college pitcher, what do you think is the average metric?
I'd say somewhere around like the 22 to 2400 RPM range. That's like a normal range for fastball spin.
What about off-speed?
I'd say that on a changeup, you're looking anywhere from like a lower spin, like a split change might be down between 900 to 1100, while like a normal changeup is probably around the 14 to 1600 metric, maybe up closer to 1800 depending on who the pitcher is.
So yeah, it's very individual according to pitcher. How does arm slot and release point kind of help determine spin rate?
Yeah, so aside from spin rate, the higher release metrics a guy has, the easier it's going to be, and the closer they release their body, the easier it is going to be for them to command north to south with their on the pitch plot. So that means that 12-6 pitches, splitters, high ride fastballs are going to be easier, while guys who release closer to the side are going to have more feel for the supination at the wrists and be able to deviate balls to their arm side and glove side, more east to west pitchers. So like we think like Jay Driver is able to work more east to west, while guys like Matt Maloney, who are way more above, they're going to have more of a feel for a splitter or a 12-6 curveball, whereas Jay can sweep his slider, get his changeup to move the way he wants to, and same thing with his sinker.
So we just talked to Johnny about what types of pitches have what type of spin, but Nico here is going to break that down on a baseball.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing we talked about was just like the high spin rates. And so the two pitches that are going to be high spins for sure are it's pitches like your fastball and your curveball like he was talking about. And so the reason that being is your four seam, obviously the way you hold it like this, you hold like that, and the way it rolls off your fingers, that's what creates a high spin rate, because on a changeup per se, when you hold like a split changeup like this and it kind of rolls off your finger, it's kind of just rolling off your finger rather than just kind of ripping through it like that. And a big one that you wouldn't think makes sense is a curveball, right? You wouldn't think a fastball and a curveball would have the same kind of spin rate, but once you really look into it, a curveball, for me, I threw a 12-6. So whenever you hold on to the seam, you're kind of taught to really rip through the curveball. So out front and use this off this seam and really just like rip through it, which creates that high spin rate, which allows those pitches to kind of look the same and get that lake break. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what it looks like. And for, once again, the changeup is a slower one because when you're reaching out and you pronate, it kind of just rolls off the side of your fingers rather than on a four seam, straight forward, cut through a fastball, curveball, ripping through it, pulling down really as hard as you can to get that high spin rate. On the changeup, just rolls off the edge of your finger. Kind of, in simple terms, that's kind of what it looks like. So just kind of explain a little more.
So just so I understand this correctly, when you're rolling, usually it means that it's going to be a lower spin rate, but when you're ripping it off your fingers, it's a higher spin rate.
Yeah, pretty much. So, when on a changeup, you're pronating, so, it's kind of going off the side. So, it's not going straight. You're not going straight towards the hitter. Rather, you're pronating your wrist. That's why, on sidearm guys get more east-west because they're already coming from a sideways move. It's not north-south, So, in a nutshell, it's kind of what it looks like.
Now we're here with Matt Maloney, one of the pitchers with the lowest spin rate, but that doesn't mean it's less effective. He's going to talk a little bit about how he changes his grip to affect the spin rate.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I throw a changeup like this. It's kind of odd because I spike the middle finger right here. Usually a lot of people throw it down like that, but I started doing that like right before I came out here because I needed something that would go arm side. So basically, like what I do is spike the middle finger, then it rolls off this ring finger last to get less spin, more movement. I think it's been down to like 900 or something I saw. But yeah, pretty cool, kind of funky, kind of crazy. You don't really see it a lot.
Where did you learn that?
I learned it at Chapman Baseball Compound before coming out here. I learned it I think 3 days before my flight, so pretty funny. Yeah, so if you see me spike anything that's like 10 feet in front of home plate, it's probably the changeup that I'm still learning how to throw.
We've talked to a lot of experts about what spin rate exactly is and the different nuances of it, but before we end this video, I'm just going to leave you with a couple takeaways and simplify it a little bit more. So the most important thing to take away is that spin is basically just a tool to deceive hitters. So too, when it comes to high spin and low spin, you might think that high spin is more important and overall leads to better pitches, but that's just not true. You need both high spin and low spin in a pitcher's arsenal, and in turn, in a pitching staff, guys that can throw both. And finally, spin is not necessarily something that you manipulate completely. You can't just decide that you want to be a high spin or low spin guy on certain pitches and just do it. It's mostly natural, but like we saw with Matt Maloney, he does manipulate it a little bit by tucking his thumb. So you can do that, but it's mostly just due to a pitcher's anatomy and different things that he does. If you enjoyed this content, comment below what other topics you want us to cover here on Brea's Breakdown, and also if you have other questions related to spin rate. All right, thanks guys.